Hello and welcome from the wild, untamed tundra of suburban London. Now we're here to do a bit of wildlife photography. No, not urban foxes, urban deer. During the day, this town in East London is just too busy and scary for the deer, so it's only really possible to see them later, at night.
Long nights like dominoes, all is lying on the edge.
So tonight I've done the clever thing and I've dressed to fit in suburbia. So for tonight only, this isn't a body warmer, it's a gilet. Harry, though, has been an idiot. And he's come dressed as full Survivor Man with his hiking trousers. Go away. What a moron.
The red deer in Richmond Park on the other side of London are a very popular subject with photographers. The deer that visit here, though, are fallow deer.
In the UK, fallow deer aren't technically native. They were introduced in the 11th century, but are now considered naturalised. They tend to live in small herds, mainly living off grasses, herbs, and young broadleaf trees. We weren't meant to be focusing on urban foxes, but as we were in London at night, they were hard to ignore.
The population of fallow deer here is very much wild, but their territory is bound by the M25, the massive congested ring road that goes around London. This means that whenever green spaces within the M25 are developed, there are fewer and fewer spaces for the deer to roam, and so they're forced to come to urban areas like this. After that brief lesson in urban planning, we got on with actually trying to photograph the deer. So it turns out finding the deer is really easy. They're everywhere. We've seen them on pavements, in people's gardens, in parks. It's been amazing. The problem is they like to stick to the shadows, so we haven't been able to get any good photographs yet, and it's really frustrating. So now we're changing tact. So instead of just looking for deer, we're going to look for good sources of light near deer. So things like shop fronts, security lights, and bus stops. That way, if the deer do decide to come into the light, we'll be prepared and we should be able to get some images.
This is exactly what we're looking for. They're grazing under streetlights. We've got deer, we've got light, and it should be a bit easier to get photos.
Our luck with the lighting finally gave us a chance to get some photos. This first image used the lights to illuminate the deer, with the urban building in the background contrasting nicely with the wild animal. With this second image, the dynamic contrast was achieved by using the light to silhouette the deer.
Harry then explains why we were being lazy and staying in the car.
Tonight we've decided to drive around where we can to avoid walking around and flaunting our camera gear as much as possible, because that is never a good idea late at night, especially in London.
And then we ignored our own advice and went outside.
How are you finding it, mate?
I think it's a bit weird. It feels really spooky because we keep hearing stuff like that and it's horrible. Things didn't improve when we decided to go into a field.
It's completely pitch black in the middle of this field, and we can just see silhouettes of deer on the outside of the field. So we can just see black antlers. It's really quite freaky.
Yeah, so we're trying to get on the shadow side of the deer with the light behind them. So, what was that?
What the hell is that?
Keep hearing noise. Anyway, I'm trying to say, we're trying to get in a position where we can get the deer with light behind them so that we get the silhouettes of the deer left behind. And to make for some quite interesting photos. But it's proving quite tricky because they're so aware. And they're quite what the
There's some weird noises coming up.
This is so creepy.
Jesus.
This is so creepy. I don't like this.
Let's go back to the car.
Having failed to get more photos due to a lack of bravery, we got back in the car. A few minutes later, we came across a busy deer crossing and quickly deployed some pro-photographer maneuvers. The fallow bucks were handsome fellas, especially with their palmate antlers. They're the only deer species in the UK with this flatter antler type.
This photo shows the antlers well, and the colourful streetlights in the distance establish the environment as urban, even though it's a tight portrait. Although the town is quieter in the evening, the roads aren't closed and vehicle collisions with deer are inevitable. So if you do ever find yourself driving near deer, please take extra care.
As the night went on, we were clearly starting to grow weary. We're very tired. It's gone 2 a.m. now, and I think we're gonna call it a night. To be honest, I found this whole experience quite creepy. Anyway, we're both quite fatigued now, and I don't think we're gonna get any good photos from here on out because we just can't focus enough to operate the cameras.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Good night.
good night.
Sleep well.